I'm gonna be frank.
I'ma be real, honest. I got something to say. I'ma talk about it before we leave today. I'ma be frank.
So today I'm gonna be talking about my process, and it will be just a two-part video, but this first part is definitely gonna talk about like the meat and potatoes of things, and then the other part is just gonna talk about three aspects, which is like physical preparation, mental preparation, and spiritual preparation. So there are some differences in my approach from project to project, but I tried to find the more universal commonalities between the two mediums, TV and film and stage. There's a fair amount of nuances and more detailed explanations about how I go about stuff, like from, character breakdown, script analysis, my formal training as an actor, all those kind of things. I won't get too much into that because I'm really trying to keep it just 2 videos this time. So I won't dig too deep into that, but I will, try to hit on the main parts of it at least. So let's dive in. So yeah, my preparation process starts from the minute I get the audition notification. As soon as I get that thing, I'm going in. I'm researching everything that I can possibly find on IMDb Pro about the project and anything I can find in like a Google search. I don't focus too much, if at all, on the other people that are gonna be acting in it or a part of it, just because I don't want to get distracted. I usually have a very limited amount of time to prepare for the audition, so I don't want to get too distracted about being like, oh, such and such is going to be acting in this. Man, I might get to act with them in the scene, and then it just sends me off to a completely different place. So I'm just trying to focus on the work. And when I say like research and look up the project and things I want to find about it, like on IMDb and all that, is I'm trying to find out, who the director is, who the producers are, who the writers are, things like that, because a lot of the times with auditions, you don't get a ton of information. You usually get like just what you need to act, for the audition. But in order to really build that character and know the world, I look up the directors to see like what their directorial style is, or I'll look up the writers to see what things they have written for, or I'll look up the producers to see what kind of projects they produce. That way I can kind of get somewhat of a feel, because you're basically trying to piece together a bunch of different things to create this character, and whatever you can use to piece together, you can. You don't always have to do that. That's what I do. I don't always do that all the time, but for the most part, I'll try to do that every time. Now, depending on the type of role, and I mean like lead, supporting, guest star, co-star, etc., it will alter a bit how I go about performing the audition in the room. Now, to clarify, every single character in every single audition that I get, no matter the size of the role, I make sure that character is a fully fleshed out character with thoughts, hopes, dreams, ideas, given circumstances, all that. Depending on the type of role, it will alter how I go about it in the room. And what I mean basically by that is I know when it's about me in a scene, and I know when it's about the other person, or if I'm supporting the other person, or if I'm just moving the story along. You gotta know your role within your role. Now, once I get booked, that's when I start digging even deeper. And that's usually when I do the first read of the script. It's not always normal that you get the full script beforehand, but when you do, and when I do, I love that, because I would dig deep into that mud. So the first read through that I do a real soft focus on my character from his point of view, and a neutral focus on all the other characters in the script. And the reason for that is not only does it allow me to really enjoy that first read just as a reader, but it also it enables me to, learn clues about other characters in the story, and learn their story arcs and their, pivotal character defining moments. And the reason why that's important as an actor is, first and foremost, you are a storyteller. So if I know, if I have a scene with another character in the script, and I know that this scene is their defining character moment, that gives me context clues as the actor on how to play this as that character, to make sure that I'm adding in any other details that I can add in to help really make their story shine in that particular moment. And that's not to say that the other actor needs that help, but again, you are a storyteller, and your part is to tell the story. And sometimes the story ain't gonna be about you. You might be the lead, but sometimes that particular moment is about that other character. So I would even say that sometimes your role, even though you might be a lead role, sometimes from scene to scene, your role goes to supporting or other types of roles. As I'm reading, even though I'm having a soft focus from my character's point of view, I'm still paying attention to what other context clues I can pick up about the character that I'm playing. Because again, with that breakdown that you get for the audition, it doesn't tell you everything you need to know. So as I'm reading, I'm trying to jot down anything else that I find out or I learn or that I find really interesting about the character that I didn't already know previously from the breakdown. And in addition to that, I also take notes down that I find that are interesting about other characters in the script, whether, no matter if I interact with them or not. Also jot down any character choices that come to mind organically as I read. And the reason why I do that is that helps me to begin to build my toolbox for that character to have choices. Now, that's not to say that I married those choices, so when I get on set, I can't adjust if I need to or anything like that, but just so that way I can have a toolbox of different character choices to play with. If the director says, hey, can we try something different? Do this or do that, or just do it different. And now I have a toolbox because I'm finding those little organic choices that come to me as I'm writing or as I'm reading. I also tend to read out loud the script just because it's fun to do, and I read each character. I don't sit there and try to be that character, but I read the character with some juice, just so I can it helps me visualize the scene and what the writers wrote, and it just kind of helps add to the funness of that first read. And after I read the whole entire script, I go back and now I'm reading for lines. So this is where I am. Just really trying to get those lines in me, not so much so that I'm married to them where I can't adjust if there's new lines thrown at us or something's rewritten, but just enough to where I can play with the other actors. And the way I try to map it out, if I'm fortunate enough to get the script well ahead of time, I try to map it out to roughly where I'm learning a scene a day. And I have the whole script memorized at least a week before first rehearsal or first day on set or first table read. And what I do then is, as I'm learning the lines, any new things that I found about the character from the first read and the audition, I take all that with me and then I incorporate that, or at least keep it in the back of my mind as I'm learning the new lines or as I'm learning the lines. Just as new choices and things like that. And the main reason for me wanting to do that is so that first day of set or table read or whatever, I'm ready to play and I'm ready to collaborate, because I hate being just stuck with the script right here trying to act and do that. I hate that so much. So that's my personal purpose. So that's why I really try to be off book before the first day on set. So now the second read through that I'm doing, I got the lines learned. I got all the information I've learned before from reading the first time and then audition and all that stuff. Now I'm bringing that with me into this second read. And in this read, unlike the first one where I was doing a soft focus on my character's point of view, I'm doing a full focus on my character's point of view as I read through and still practicing lines as I'm reading through. And even though I am focused on my character's point of view, I'm still open to any new things that come to me in this second read. And I take note of those things, just again adding more tools and options to my toolbox for when we're filming on set. Now, any of the choices that I found in that first read, now I'm giving it some type of shape. Not necessarily saying I'm locking it in and it's not changing, but just giving it some type of shape so that way it's playable on set. Now, with that, you don't want to be so locked in to the choices that you made that you can't adjust or, if they tell you to do something different or to take direction. But it's more so really just you offering options to submit for consideration and collaboration. All right, so now I'm at the third time I'm reading the script. And it's pretty much the same thing as the two times before, where I'm just reading and taking everything I'm learning, dropping it deeper. If there's new things that's coming up, taking notes of those things. It sounds like it's a lot, but I tend to be a very heady actor, and that's kind of always been my thing for a long time. And in order for me to really not be so heady by the time I get on set and I'm working with everyone else, I have to do these things to get myself out of my head so I'm not thinking about it. It's like any athlete, if you're, playing football, you learn the playbook. So when you're on the field, you know how to go about doing all the stuff that you need to do. And if you need to adjust, on the fly, you can. But if you're sitting there thinking about it, okay, I need to do this 7 slant, but how do I do that? And then that's putting you in your head and it takes you out the game, it takes you out the moment. So knowing how to have that stuff already on lock, for me, that helps me to not be heady, even though I'm being heady in the process. And on top of that, it just really helps me to let go of anything that, makes me, that would make sense to me. Like, you still have the things that make sense as a character, but you also have to be willing to let that go. And ultimately, you gotta have fun doing it. You know what I'm saying? So now we're at the point to where we're on set or, on the stage. And if I did all my homework and did all my prep work, now I'm just ready to play. I'm not in my head. I'm not thinking about lines. I'm not sitting there with the script in my hand. I'm just playing and going off of what the other actors are giving me. And it's truly a collaboration, and it's so much fun that way. Of course, you don't abandon any of the things that you built for your toolbox. For me, when I get on set and we're doing that first scene together, like, I have all those tools in my toolbox, but I essentially put all of those to the side and I go with what's given to me right here in front of me. My scene partner's giving me stuff, and sometimes it does line up with the choices that I made, and other times it doesn't. But whatever they're giving me, I'm going off of that. I'm feeding off of that. And if I need to reach in and grab a few things out of that toolbox, I can use it. But ultimately, all that is pushed to the side, just kind of as a reserve if you need to play with some of it. But ultimately, you're going off of what your scene partner's giving you, and it's so much fun. It's like a good, boxing match, or watching people dance together. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. And what makes it fun is when you're in the moment and you're not in your head about it. Also, there will be times on set where you will mess up. There'll be times in the process where you mess up. But you have to, I've learned so much that you have to have grace on yourself in those mess ups, because if you don't, it will take you out of your head. It won't allow you to perform at your best, and you won't be someone fun to work with. Have that grace with yourself when you mess up, because you will mess up. Laugh at it if you can. But you gotta have that grace for yourself, because you will have times where you're not on your game, and that just happens. That's life. But having grace with yourself and getting over it wins every time. So I would say the biggest takeaway from all of this, if you don't take away anything else from this video, is that you have to realize and know that your toolbox is constantly going to change. There's things that I've learned in my formal training. Some of those things I still use, some of those things I don't. There's new things that I've learned from other styles and trainings and other people I've worked with. All of that stuff is in my toolbox, and some of it is removed and some of it is replaced. But ultimately, you have to be willing, able, open, and humble to try new things and to, build your toolbox with things that aren't necessarily things that you were like, this is what I go by, Stanislavski all day, it's Meisner all day, or nothing. You have to be open and humble yourself to try new things. And that's not to say that you have to, commit to those things, or you even have to like them, but you won't know until you try. So if you don't learn anything else, please know and accept that your toolbox will change over time if you're open to it. And this toolbox that I'm talking about, all it is something that empowers you and enables you to do your job with excellence to the best of your ability. It's all about finding the tools that work best for you. And sometimes it's going to be the stuff you learn in formal training. Sometimes that's going to be stuff that you learn on set working with somebody. Sometimes it's going to be stuff that you might even learn from an extra on set. You never know, but just be willing and know that your toolbox will change. You have to be open to it and find the tools that work best for you to do your job with excellence. So that was the first part. The second part of the video, I will be talking about my physical prep, my mental prep, and my spiritual prep. And it'll probably be a lot shorter video than this one. My bad, y'all. I like to talk. But as always, if you liked any of the content that was shared in this video, please take a moment to like, share, follow, and subscribe. You can do that by going to my website at frankoakleyIII.com. Thank you. Peace.